Here's the deal. The players can't sue because they're bound to arbitration because they've opted in the settlement. They're taking revenue share money. If they have a problem with what NIL Go says regarding their deal, they have to submit to our binding arbitration. So they're not going to sue. The schools aren't going to sue. They also have to submit to binding arbitration. Everybody else can sue, which includes the people who would be paying the money. And so if I want to give somebody $1 million a year, who is Deloitte to tell me that it's not market value? What I want to pay you is your market value. So I can sue and say, how dare you tell me what I can and can't pay this person?
And do you want to know what the argument is going to be, Andy, in court? Forget the kid. Forget the player. The NCAA or the clearinghouse, Deloitte, is going to tell a business owner how to run their business?
Right. Here's the other piece of it. A state attorney general could get involved too. We've already seen that with Tennessee. We saw that when Nico was playing at Tennessee and the NCAA was going after his initial deal and they were investigating that. And basically the Tennessee attorney general sued the NCAA and got the rules thrown out. Well, there's nothing that would keep a state attorney general from suing over this. And I can think of certain states where there's one dominant school, Tennessee, Louisiana, Ohio, where the attorney general might jump in a case like that.
I have this house, and every day I wake up in it, Andy, there's something wrong. Okay, want to hear the newest thing? When I shut my shower off, it doesn't shut off all the way. Like there's still drippage now. I can't get the water. No. It's running constantly.
Oh God!
So we have a plumber coming, or we had a plumber come yesterday, and hopefully it's just a cartridge. Is that what's in it? I don't know. However, I'm going to get scammed in this plumbing deal. They're going to do it today.
Sounds like a gasket. You got a gasket problem somewhere.
Gasket, cartridge, stem, whatever it is, it's going to be $1,000. So anyway, they came yesterday, and I got to talking to the plumber. And this is, I know it sounds like a tangent, but I'm going to wrap it around. Okay. And this plumber walked through my office, and he goes, "Oh, wow, you like college football?" And then we got to talking about college football. And he's a huge Texas fan. Come to find out, this is one of the largest plumbing chains in the state of Texas. And this guy is the owner of the company, and it has 1 million different branches. And he's just a blue collar genius, rich guy who expanded his business. Those people who I talk about. Huge Texas fan. And apparently somebody who donates heavily both to the athletic department and their NIL fund. Okay. Ooh. If this, I'm not going to tell you what the name of the business is, but if this person decides I want to pay Ryan Wingo $1 million so I can put his face on the side of all of my plumbing vans, whether he puts his face on the plumbing van or not, are you telling me that the Deloitte clearinghouse is going to tell this plumbing millionaire that he can't pay Ryan Wingo? Forget Ryan Wingo.
Right. Yeah, you're infringing.
You can't tell a business owner how to run their business. Whether or not you think it's disingenuous isn't up for you to decide. Maybe he's just a bad business. You don't get to tell people how to spend their money. This is insane. This whole thing of we're going to enforce this am I the only one who thinks this is absolutely insane?
No, most of the people in college football feel the same way you do.
Okay, so if I wrote a column saying that this clearinghouse is insane, that's just like me saying that you need air to breathe, right?
Basically, but I do think there are people in the leadership structure who either believe this is going to work or just want it to work so bad because the other option is you go back to what they're doing now, which is no real rules. And at this point, they've gone no real rules for 4 years. It's fine. They keep putting games on and TV keeps paying more for them. People keep showing up.
Vance is always in here making good points. I love Vance. Yeah. This guy's always in here, giving us heat.
Imagine Deloitte telling Phil Knight how to do business. Exactly.
Who is Deloitte to tell Phil Knight how to spend? If he wanted to employ the best, and by the way, with Nike, that money actually would probably be real if you actually used the athletes who came to Oregon in Nike campaigns. So I don't know if it's the greatest example, You might be easier to tell a plumber who has a bunch of money not to do it than you would be somebody who actually runs a business that employs athletes to market their product. But like, it doesn't matter what the scale is. You can go to Phil Knight or you can go to the plumber. It is the business owner's prerogative to allocate their own money the way that they view is necessary. And if he thinks that Ryan Wingo is worth $1 million to tweet about, hey, you know, if your gasket in your shower is broken, even though your house is only 3 years old, and you just have problems every week, and you want to go have it fixed, then you know, go use X Plumbing, you know, services. Here's the phone number. That's his prerogative. It's like I feel like it's so funny. We're so aimed at the actual athlete and making sure that they don't take advantage of the system that we're forgetting that there's business owners that can spend their money however they want. It's America.
Well, there's no we. It's the people who were defendants in the House case, which were the ACC, SEC, Big 12, Big 10, and the Pac-12, essentially trying to recreate the NCAA. The NCAA's enforcement arm has been neutered, essentially. These rules have been declared the violations of the Sherman Act. So they're making new rules within the structure of the settlement, which is not it's not a decided court case. There's no court verdict here. This was a settlement. So it's not precedent. But they want so badly to just recreate the NCAA that they'll believe this. And then reality is going to happen. Everybody's been telling them what's going to happen. What you just said, since this idea bubbled up a few years ago, people have said, this is what will happen. And it is what's going to happen. Here's the other possibility. So in terms of deciding what fair market value is, and I'm using air quotes there, this Deloitte mechanism was essentially an algorithm, is going to look at various deals and decide, does this fit within the normal parameters? What happens if every school submits all of their new deals and they all look the same, but they don't fit the quote unquote normal parameters that the algorithm has now? The algorithm is going to adjust, because if 1,000 deals come in that all look the same, that's the market.
Well, here's the other thing too, and this is a Bad at Math podcast, but I'm very interested on how they actually programmed or set the algorithm to operate. Because if you're trying to figure out what fair market value is for an athlete, wouldn't fair market value be compared to pro athletes? And aren't they getting paid a ton of money? Like, how do you even decide what fair market value is?
That's what they're using is they're using pro athlete deals. They have data.
So then there's going to be pro athlete deals are very lucrative. How much do you think Aaron Rodgers got from State Farm?
Well, certain pro athlete deals. Yes, Aaron Rodgers' State Farm deal is very lucrative, but what does like an offensive lineman in Buffalo get from a car dealership? It's probably not that big of a deal.
You mean Buffalo Bills?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But then also too, who do you think's more marketable? The offensive lineman for the Buffalo Bills or the 5-star receiver from Florida?
Correct. But here's the deal. NIL pay has gone based on football value, not on marketability. So you want to pay your left tackle. So you're going to pay your left tackle, even if he's not necessarily that marketable. So that's where you're going to run into this issue. But again, I'm with you. I just don't think they're going to be able to tell people how to spend their money. I don't think they're going to get away with that.
Yeah, so here's the thing, and I'm no business genius. I don't know anything, but what is there's only one solution that we've ever come up with where it's like, this is how we can stop this from happening. This is how we can end the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
And that's to make them employees, right?
Or if you could somehow collectively bargain with them without making them employees, if you could have them be gig employees or contractors and you could collectively bargain with them, which I don't know if you could do that. Yes. But collective bargaining is the way where the players involved agree to this. And therefore, if they were to take you to court, the court would just say, well, you agree to this and throw it out.
Okay. Lastly, if you collectively bargain, What is to stop you from taking NIL deals?
Oh, nothing.
I think what we're trying to get to the bottom of is how can we make NIL not so crazy? And I don't know that there's a solution to that problem.
But the thing is, if you collectively bargain, you can have very strict penalties for it. It's the same reason, like, because people say, well, why doesn't Jerry Jones just supplement Dak Prescott's pay with an NIL deal? Because Jerry Jones would lose draft picks if he did that.
Yeah.
So if you have a collective bargaining agreement, you can have severe
penalize
penalties.
the actual schools, and you can penalize
and the athletes. Yeah. And nobody would feel bad for anybody because they agreed to it.
Right. And like the only reason why rules, Josh Pate tweeted this yesterday, and I thought it was funny because it's so obvious, but it's funny to read out loud. Of like the only point in having rules is if people are afraid to break them.
Right.
So like, understand too that like we live in this world of college football, and you know what's going to happen, right? If that ever comes into play and they actually do collectively bargain and they have these stringent rules, the return.
You think they won't? Maybe. But the thing is, if you get caught with the bag man in a CBA situation, you can severely punish. Whereas in this situation, you can't.
Where you couldn't severely punish in the old days?
No. Not anybody who was actually involved.
No, I'm saying like
by the time you figured it out, it would be too late.
I covered a tattoo scandal where people sold their own possessions that their careers got derailed from it. People still did it when you were punished. Like go back to 2010. People still did
I don't.
And that wasn't even
true.
taking money. That was selling their own stuff. Imagine if somebody, you don't think Cam Newton would have taken that money if there was a collective bargaining agreement?
Well, I think Cam Newton would have been paid a lot more money if there was a collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think
maybe they will get so much money it won't be worth risking at that point. But
right. And again, like Cam Newton, nothing was ever proven. But if any of the numbers thrown out around Cam Newton were true, it was the biggest bargain in the history of sports.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. The bagman money is chump change compared to all of this. Chump change. What were we talking about with Cam Newton? 180 grand, 200 grand, something like that?
I thought it was 180,000. Yeah.
Okay. That was the rumor. What was Cam Newton worth to Auburn that year? 15 million?
Yeah.
20 million? Like, come on. I mean, let's be real. Let's think about this.
180 G's back then, though, was a lot. I mean, that was a lot of money to just get.
Well, sure, but it wasn't what he was worth.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, when you thought
Allegedly.
about because back in the day, like in 2010, if somebody kicked somebody $2,500, that was a big deal.
Yeah, but that's the point. The bagman is such chump change. It may not be worth the risk.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you bring the bagman back and the bagman hands somebody 10 grand who's already making 600 grand, he's gonna be like, I'm really not going to risk my career over this, sir.
I think I would take 10 G's if I'm in an
somebody take the 10 grand. Somebody would. But if it meant that you got caught and you'd never play again, I think you just take your 600 grand and be happy with it.
Yeah. I just think that there's ways of doing it of like, hey, come to the school, go on an official visit. All of a sudden, Billy Bob at the nice steakhouse says, hey, yeah, come here. We'll also kick you $15,000 a week in your locker.
Yeah. And they might still do that. But I don't know that it'd be worth the risk if you're already making quite a bit more. Now, $15,000 a week, we're talking that adds up to some serious money.
$10,000 a week. I don't know. Like, anyway, like you can find a way to. They've been funneling money to players.
$10,000 a week is $500,000 a year. So
yeah,
Bagman ain't paying $500,000. That's the thing. The Bagman doesn't have that much money.
Yeah,
that's the difference. Like, it's funny how everybody wants the bag. We romanticize the Bagman. The Bagman was broke. Corporate money's the real money.
Yeah.
Like, now you got that grocery store money. You got that plumber money. You got the
Nike money.
State Farm money. Exactly. Like, that's the real money. The bagman was broke.
Yeah.
I just think everybody wants the bagman back. I think everybody loved the bagman.